Punch has just opened in the West End, and this is a play that will make you feel the feelings that you weren't ready to face. And in this video, I'm going to talk about 5 things that I think would be good to know before you go to see this show. Hello, my name is Christina, and I'm here to help you have the best West End theatre experience. I talk about theatre reviews, cheap tickets, and all things about London. So if you like the sound of it, then make sure to subscribe and help support my channel. The first thing that you need to know about Punch is that this play is based on real events. This actually happened in 2011, and even to this day you can go back on BBC and see the report of Jacob Dunne killing James Hodgkinson with one punch. James's parents are still alive and they have had their contribution to this play as well, and Jacob Dunne is very much someone who's still raising awareness, but this cause is something that gives a lot of weight to this show. It is something that I feel is quite recent, and unfortunately is something that can happen on a night out in London as well. The statistics is actually pretty grim. There is about 80 to 90 fatalities of one punch in the UK in the last 5 years, which means that one punch ended 80 to 90 people's lives. And this is scary if you go out and you notice that especially young men are very easy to start a fight and direct the rage sometimes at the person that they don't even know, which was the case when Jacob hit James Hodgkinson. He was there for a cricket match that was happening that day with his father, and Jacob just came out of nowhere because there was a fight happening, and he was drunk and he took some drugs, and basically he just wanted a fight, and all of that made James's life end in one punch. So it's a very, very serious conversation and a story that raises awareness about the severity of this, especially in the time when toxic masculinity is on the rise. Knowing that this is a true story, and also James's picture being there when you enter the theater, it just makes things very, very real, and the pain and ups and downs of the show that everyone in the audience is experiencing, it just really feels like you are living the story with the characters. And this is all due to the number 2, which I need to warn you about, and that is the incredible cast. The cast works so well on stage, and their character delivery is so believable that pairing this up with a true events story, it just makes it really hard to disassociate from the show that you're experiencing. It really soaks you in, and it doesn't let you go until the very end. And one of the key reasons why they're so good together is that they have been together for quite a few productions now. So this show started first at the Nottingham Playhouse, and then it transferred to the Young Vic, where it received amazing acclaim, and then it transferred to the West End. So this cast has worked with each other for a while, and now it really feels like they are one team that is so seamlessly moving from one role to the other, especially because a lot of them are playing multiple characters. Growing up in the Meadows in Nottingham, a single parent with his younger brother, there was a lot that was going on in Jacob's life that was not ideal. The people he was hanging out with, the surroundings, and the aspirations of the people around him has also made him prone to pursuing certain paths that were definitely not something that anyone would wish upon their kid. And this is all culminated in that night when he punched James Hodgkinson and ended his life. Delivering a character like this, it's a pretty heavy weight on David Shields' shoulders, but he does transition from Jacob in the first act to Jacob in the second act in a way that really makes you empathize with Jacob Dunne and everything that he has gone through, and his inability to express his emotions or even believe in himself or see him as anything worthy of anyone's attention. There is a really strong character arc that he is portraying here, and he has done a brilliant job to untangle this really complicated character for the audiences. The cast member that has made the biggest impact on me is Julie Hesmondosh, who is playing Joanne, who is James's mother. Her role in this show is so tough because she is portraying a woman whose son was killed, and she is still in her heart finding a flicker of compassion and love for this person who has committed that terrible crime. Her genuine belief in humanity and that people can change and that people deserve the second chance is something that really made me feel goosebumps throughout the show. And this is not done in any way that is too on the nose. It is some really simple sentences and pauses that she makes in conversations with Jacob that just allowed for my tears to stream down my face. It really felt like involuntary reaction. It was so deep and so profound. And while watching her, I was just wondering, how is it even possible that someone can find so much goodness in their heart to actually change the life of a person who pretty much ruined yours by taking your son away. And the beauty and power of this play lies in that conflict between these two emotions and the way that they are delivered in this show. The rest of the cast is doing an amazing job. They are flicking between the characters, playing 2 or 3 roles, and it just seems that the 6 of them really know each other well as performers. They know each other well as the characters that they're playing, and these kind of switches were literally mind-blowing to see, because you have in one point a character that is going through something really tough, and then, you know, they just like change their wardrobe a little bit, and then they are in this like completely new mode of delivering a new character. So the cast is incredibly powerful. So if you're going to see this show, you need to be aware of that, because you won't be able to distance yourself from the story that much. My third warning about this show is that it is about grief and redemption and forgiveness and all these really heavy, big topics that sometimes are very triggering for people. Depending on your relationship with grief and loss and injustices, ultimately, it is going to make you feel a certain way that in some ways you can't really predict until you experience the show, and that is absolutely the beauty of theater. But given that it is a show that is talking about something that is so important and so profound and very serious, because these are the things that alter people's lives. Like if someone experiences grief and loss of this sort, it is something that can just leave the biggest mark on you, and it is really hard not to be taken to a place maybe that you wanted not to revisit for a while with such an impactful delivery. So if you're going to see this show, make sure that you are ready for what it brings and that you are clued up on the storyline a little bit, and that you know how to position yourself in terms of what you are about to experience. On the other hand, it is a story about forgiveness. It is a story about people coming together to see the best in each other and to really encourage that, and that is a positive side of it. And this is not to say that this story is in any way a downer, or that it's not gonna entertain you, or that you're just gonna be absolute wreck after it. There are so many nice and fun and exciting elements in it, so it is a good balance between delivering this important message but at the same time having some interesting elements that are aiding the entertainment element of the show. Ultimately, it is a show that hits deep in your core. It is an impactful show, and it has a message that I think everyone in the audience will resonate with, because everyone has experienced loss on some level, and these are emotions that occupy all of us in one way or the other. So be prepared for that. The fourth thing worth noting before you go see this show is that this play does tackle some really big topics on a more societal level, such as toxic masculinity and the reduction of funding in social services that are in many cases life-changing for people who do rely on them. And while the center theme of the show is definitely around reconciliation between Jacob and James's family, there are very strong signals throughout the show that indicate the way that the society and the way that things are organized in the UK have let this young man down. The biggest focus in the show is on this particular program called Restorative Justice, which was pivotal in bringing Jacob and James's family together. And this particular program is facilitating the conversation between those people who have been harmed and the person who has caused that harm. And initially this this was something that started as messages and letters, and this turned into a face-to-face conversation between the two of them and bringing them in the room together and helping facilitate this process. And this was all done by these trained practitioners, but it was really nicely weaved in how underfunded these services are and how crucial they are to helping people rehab after such an experience like Jacob's had, because he's gone to prison and he came out of prison even in a worse condition compared to how he was before. And if it wasn't for this restorative justice program and willingness from James's parents to open their hearts and mind to Jacob, then he would probably end up in a completely different position to where he is now. And that toxic masculinity is really trickled throughout the whole show, because it very much starts with Jacob's trying to prove himself to his peers and being there for the fight, or like seeking the fight, or like drinking more, taking more drugs, and just being this guy who is so tough, all the way to the point where he's not able to look other people in the eyes, he's not able to express his emotions. He's really struggling with getting to grips with who he is as a man, because his understanding of manhood was connected to really toxic things that he has experienced in his community. And this show really puts a mirror to the audience and to anyone who has ever felt that toxic masculinity. And it's a really important underlying message, because if Jacob maybe didn't feel that toxic masculinity and it wasn't pushed in that direction, maybe this wouldn't have happened and it could have been prevented. The fifth thing to be aware of is that while this is a very emotional watch, and with everything that I've shared, there are plenty of reasons to be careful how this might impact you. At the same time, it is very aspirational, and it is putting that forgiveness and just Jacob's story of becoming the man who he is today on the back of everything that has happened at the center, which does fill you with faith in humanity and in the fact that if we are kinder and more compassionate towards each other, even in situations like Joanne and David, James's parents were in, they have found a lot of compassion for Jacob, which has in turn completely changed Jacob's life. It ultimately is an uplifting show, because Jacob is nowadays a person who is doing TED Talks and raising awareness, and who has a degree in criminology, and all of this because these people have seen in him a hope that they can help him turn his life around to a degree and not waste his life like maybe he was on a course to do. Because while it is a local story to the UK and Nottingham, it is also a story that is universal for all men around the world, because they are very much more likely to start fights and get into fights compared to their female counterparts. So there is a crisis of trying to educate young men about the impacts of their actions, and that this is not the way to live your life because the consequences are too grave to handle. So with all this in mind, it is a fantastic show to go and see. It is a show that is definitely one of the most impactful that I have seen this year, and it will be interesting to see what the future of it is, because it's already on in New York, so you can see it also in the US with a different cast. In London you can see it until the end of November at the Apollo Theatre, and I'm sure that this is not the end of this story, because it's just too important for it to stop being told. If you have seen Punch, please leave your notes below. I would love to hear your opinion, and also if you're planning to see Punch, I hope that this video was useful. If you're interested in hearing more about my favorite theaters in London, then check out this video where I'm listing 10 of them.